There are two opposing forces in the crypto space right now that are coming to a clash. Half the people think the Clarity Act is going to get passed and the others say it's still going to fail. We do have a brand new interview with Patrick Witt, the crypto advisor for the White House. He kind of gives the game away saying that banks need clarity more than the crypto industry. Let's go through what he's actually saying here. He does give some of the game plan away. We're also going to take a look at what could still stall the bill as well. We have industry insiders commenting on what they think is about to happen. We hear from senators. We hear from all kinds of people who really have a key stake for making this legislation happen for the crypto industry. Let's have a little bit of fun. Make sure you support the content, like, share, comment. Let's have some fun.
Very bullish on this legislation. And many people out there would say that the banks are actually probably more in need of this legislation than crypto is. Bank permissible activities and Title IV is hugely important to the banks because, you know, in a world in which you start to tokenize a lot of these assets, if banks don't have a clear permission to engage in this, they're going to be left behind. So competitively, I think it's arguably as important, maybe even more important, that the banks get this legislation done. So the fact that there are some that are very outspoken over this issue of stablecoin rewards and yield is maybe it raises the question, do they just want to fight a bill overall? And maybe it's not just this issue, but that's the one that's been most salient that they've tried to use as a wedge issue, but very bullish.
I think it's interesting that some banks are saying crypto could ruin us, right? I think those are the more like mid-level credit unions, smaller banks, community banks. The bigger banks, the JP Morgans, the HSBs, the Cs, the Citibanks of the world, the HSBCs, what? The Citibanks of the world, they have already been in crypto for years. They have their infrastructure ready to go. They have their partners. They have their proof of concepts. They have their tests. You give them clear rules of the road, you give them regulation, and they are going to kick this thing into high gear. And that's what's going to get really exciting. Which one of them are going to choose? Solana, XRP, Ethereum? We really want to know because we do think volumes are going to pick up considerably once it is the law of the land. Institutions won't fully commit to crypto until regulation is stable enough through this new administration can't reverse course. So the whole thing here is the SEC and the CFTC have given clear guidance to the crypto industry, but their guidance can be reversed, just as Paul Atkins at the SEC and Michael Seelig at the CFTC came in and undid all the crazy and batshit stuff that the last administration did to kill crypto in the United States. That's why all of these projects and developers went overseas, and that's why we had the FTX and Terra Lunas of the world. Obviously, there's other issues happening in the crypto industry, but we really want to have a regulated market, and the only way to do that is to lead by example here in the United States. Let's go ahead and play this.
If you're a large institution, you're not going to set up a line of business. You're not going to open a new division. You're not going to invest the money necessary in order to build this out. If in a few years it could potentially get reversed and you have to shutter the whole thing again. SoFi is a great example of this. They got into crypto early, and then Biden administration comes in. They had to shut it all down. Now they're turning it back on. That kind of reversal and whipsaw is just not how institutions operate. So if we want banks and all market participants to be able to engage in the space, they need that clear marker that says definitively, yes, banks can engage in this activity, and it's not subject to change with the new administration coming in.
Ooh, that was like just an insane beat, right? It was so hard to pay attention to what Patrick Witt was saying. That was like a deep bass, like 80s theme beat. Oh man. Anyways, let's get back to the clip here. Institutions need to understand what the clear rules of the road are. If they go ahead and set up their infrastructure and their customers start using crypto and the next administration comes in and tenders it legal, I mean, that's a big problem, right? You got to go back and say every transaction you did with crypto was illegal. So here is a mother of all fines, right? Jail time. You could lose your banking license. That's why they won't touch it yet, but they will soon. All right, I'm trying to stay focused, man. That Frappuccino's hit me hard here. Got that tweak. The Clarity Act is still about to change everything. The President's Council Advisors for Digital Assets, Patrick Witt, will get the bill done. There's a regulatory clarity. The floodgates are opening. I had a caramel Frappuccino. I on Sundays, I kind of splurge and I go for it, right? And wow, maybe I should have recorded before I drank the Frappuccino. But hey, let's get back to this.
I mean, yeah, what's your vision, assuming this does pass, for what this industry looks like, you know, a year, 3, 5 years down the road?
Well, I think you look to Genius as an illustrative example of what can happen. Genius passes, stablecoin market has exploded. You see tremendous investment going into that. New funds that just got raised, Han Ventures, A16Z, Dragonfly, Paradigm. So many of these funds are being raised. And one of the primary theses that they're investing in is around stablecoins and new payment rails. So that is a proof point of cause and effect. We got this bill done. There's regulatory clarity. The rules are being written. And now here comes all of this investment, all of this new venture money, institutions starting to, say, okay, what does this mean for my company, my business? How can I take advantage of this? How can we potentially integrate this product into our suite of products available? So I think with clarity, you're going to see a similar response to that government stamp of approval that these assets, this industry is here to stay. And you're already seeing a number of the banks and other existing institutions start to position themselves, but that's really just going to firm up with this legislation getting passed. And I think you're going to see a lot more investment in the space, a lot more institutional adoption, which inevitably makes its way into the entire financial fabric.
I mean, everybody watching this channel is smarter than the rest of the planet, right? You found out there's a new financial system coming, and that financial system is going to run on blockchain. And so you are pre-positioning in front of these, this technology that's going to change how 8 billion people move value around the planet, right? Trillions, quadrillions of dollars are coming on chain, and that's what we're trying to do. But think it. You are a CEO of a bank or corporation. How do you stay ahead of your competition? You need technology. That is everything. And we know AI and blockchain are two super trends that are bigger than anything else in the world right now. So you're going to have this digital arms race. Everybody's going to be rushing in. And if you don't have your own infrastructure, what do you have to do? You got to pick up the phone and call Ripple or a company like Ripple that has infrastructure already built out, that has technology that works at scale, because you're going to have to leapfrog and catch up while everyone else might be in front of you. So it's going to be just an insane amount of announcements, partnerships, proof of concepts that go into full test, from test to pilot to full production to live. I mean, that is really what I'm waiting for. And I think it's going to get spicy. All right. Let's go to this here. Crypto in America. I don't even think of this as a crypto bill. I think of it as a market modernization bill.
I don't even think of this as a crypto bill. I think of it as a market modernization bill. Like, this is the legislation that is going to bring our financial markets into the 21st century. And to me, that's what makes it really exciting and historic. And of course, I'd be remiss not to mention vaults. We were very excited. Our whole team was really excited to see the mention of, not just vaults, but vault tokens and digital asset receipts and transparent systems and constrained programmatic infrastructure, right? Like, you see these terms in the bill. And like I said, I think that is a really meaning conceptual shift. Like, I think Congress really is beginning to understand and think of crypto as infrastructure. So that was really exciting.
They're finally seeing it for what it's always been, infrastructure. All right, now, there's still some issues, right? There's still a whole Mount Everest that we have to climb. The Clarity Act may still fail from becoming law. 7 reasons why. First, Senate bill merger. The Banking Committee text must first merge with a parallel bill from the Senate Agricultural Committee. Any compromise text will likely face new opposition. You have the CFTC side that was in the Senate Agriculture Committee. That was passed back in January. Pretty simple. It passed on party lines. Every Democrat said no. Every Republican said yes. It passed. Now, the Senate Banking Committee, that's the SEC side of the bill. Now, we saw a 15-9 where 2 Democrats crossed party lines to vote for the bill. Also Brooks and Gallego, but they also said there's still a lot of work to be done. You got to merge these 2 bills together so it becomes a super bill. That was really corny. I'm sorry, but that's what they have to do. There's also probably going to be some other stuff added to the bill, as that always has been. In Congress and Senate, they figure out, like, what else crazy can I add to this bill that really doesn't have anything to do with crypto, but I got to slide it in anyways. And so that could obviously stall votes, and that could be an issue. Now, the second is the 60 vote wall. Once reconciled, the bill faces a full Senate floor vote requiring 60 votes to overcome a filibuster. Filibuster is when someone can just get up and talk for 24 hours straight, and they can't even get a vote in. And they've been talking about getting rid of the filibuster. I don't know if that'll ever happen, but that is one of the ways that they can install and make sure the bill doesn't actually come up for a vote. Republicans hold only 53 seats, which means 7 Democrats have to cross over. Now, I think you got like 16 or 17 Democrats that did vote for the Genius Act. So we know that there's an appetite for crypto in the Senate. We know that there is the midterms coming up, and some of these senators will be either running for re-election or setting for their legacy here. Some of them are just saying, hey, this is what I am done. This will be my legacy. Senator Lummis, for example, she's not going to run for re-election, and she has done everything she can to get this bill over the finish line, and will be really focused to see if they're able to get that support they need. It'll be on ethics. It'll be on some of these DeFi revisions. That's really the 2 sticking points for Democrats, and we'll see if it gets done. The ethics fight. I should have just looked at number 3. Come on. Democrats are demanding a conflict of interest provision banning the president and officials from promoting crypto. White House opposes this. If unresolved, the 60 vote math collapses. So if you're in office and you're being paid by the taxpayers, you shouldn't be able to launch a crypto project and make money off of it. That is what Democrats want in the bill. Banning that. You shouldn't be able to do that. You shouldn't be able to use inside information to make money. We know both sides still do it. What will happen here if they're able to get that in the bill, right? Do you think Trump's going to sign it? I think he's going to have to, right? Because it would look pretty bad if Democrats cross, and get this thing done with Republicans, and then Trump doesn't sign it into law. I think, he needs a win right now, and this could be the win that he needs. The banking lobby, banks are still pushing to kill the DeFi safe harbor, tighten stablecoin yield rules further, strip developer protections. Banks may appeal to senators outside the banking committee before the floor vote, opening new pressure points. So we've heard a ton of outside bank associations coming in, writing letters, calling senators, urging them to vote no on the Clarity Act. You're going to see other groups come forward. There's going to be other shenanigans. You just know what's going to happen. I don't really know how this is going to unfold. We'll have to play it by ear. 5th, House reconciliation. The House passed its own version of the HR 3633, which is the Clarity Act, in July 2025. The Senate version added new language on stablecoin yield, DeFi, insider trading, and bankruptcy. I think, Senator Tim Scott says they added 33,000 words of text to the bill. So it's a completely different bill than the House passed. So it has to go back to the House because they're going to say, what the hell did you do to my bill? What is this? And they're going to have to say, okay, do we agree with this, or do we make any more changes? And that's also a point of contention here. Both chambers must vote on the bill again. Wow. The August deadline, the floor vote must happen by August. Miss it, and the midterm campaigns take over. Like I said, there's going to be a lot of senators running for re-election. They're not going to have time to do their job, which is pretty insane. The next window could be 2030 or beyond. This is basically a lot of the crypto industry has said that if Democrats take over the House, or by a crazy thing that they take over the Senate as well, that Democrats won't want crypto, and you'll have to maybe wait until 2030 where Republicans maybe take the House back from the Democrats. I don't know. American politics is a shit show. We'll have to see how this all plays out. It'll really come down to how well or not well the economy is doing close to November. People always vote with their wallet. Are gas prices still going to remain high? Yeah, they will, unfortunately. But anyways, that's a whole nother conversation. Rulemaking delay. Even if signed, the law has a 360-day delay. The SEC and CFTC must write the rules. So here is the rulemaking. The Senate approves it. The House approves it. Goes to the president's desk. Somehow he approves it, then you do have to do the rulemaking. And that's what the SEC and CFTC have already kind of been harmonizing on. They say that they are trying to go through this process as quickly and efficiently as possible. If you remember the last financial crisis, if you weren't paying, much attention to what was called the Dodd-Frank Act, that came in after the last financial crisis to prevent future financial crisis. That took over 3 years to implement the rules, just trying to show you how long that could take. Most compliance deadlines land in 2027 and 2028, which means you're going to get this initial wave of adoption and pump, but the rules won't kick in for quite some time, and that could be bad for the industry. And then crypto holders win big with Clarity Act. Clear SEC and CFTC. Tokens graduate to commodities once networks are decentralized enough. Keep your coins. No new federal restrictions on self-hosted wallets. Jurisdiction clarity. Most mature tokens treated as digital commodities, CFTC, lighter touch, self-custody guaranteed, DeFi safe harbors, code publishers and stakers protected from overreach, real investor protections, tailored disclosures, plus anti-pump and dump rules, which could be nice, custody upgrades, assets segregated and treated as yours in bankruptcy. Clarity is now headed for the full Senate vote on the floor, with the White House targeting July 4th signing. Now, we also had this clip here from the wolf of all streets.
Yeah, as far as the substance goes, I would say 90% is probably the right number.
But people think about it in the frame of Clarity Act passes, and in the year 3000, they might be talking about this the same way we're still talking about the Howey test.
It is difficult to get a major piece of financial legislation done when you're not doing it in response to a financial crisis. That's why I think I made that point earlier. It's so important to remember that this is abnormal, but it really should be the norm. One of the things that really underwrites American success and is our role in financial markets. Our capital markets are deep, they're liquid, they're predictable, there's good consumer protections. They have really stood the test of time. President Trump is a competitive guy. Americans are competitive by nature. We want to be number one. We want to dominate. We want to be the best in the world. And crypto is obviously one of those technologies that the president said early on. We want to be number one.
I see the stablecoin deal that's being agreed here as actually way more aggressive than the Genius Act.
Clarity is dominating my time, but it's not the only thing that we're doing, as we talked about with the SBR, with different rulemakings that are in flight.
All right. If you want to check out that full podcast, available now on the Wolf of All Streets. All right. In a post-Clarity committee markup statement on May 14th, the American Bankers Association remained convinced that stablecoin offerings are still expected to draw away bank deposits and threaten local lending. Like I said, the fight isn't over. It's just now getting started. Now, U.S. Representative Brian Steele, I'm still bullish on the Clarity Act passing through the Senate, signed by summer.
Of that in New York maybe 6 months ago.
But what about the pushback from the financial institutions about, what kind of yield? And are they a traditional bank and KYC?
So great question. A lot of that was resolved in Genius. We're now negotiating Clarity, which is a market structure legislation inside crypto. And inside the negotiation, the second major piece of legislation. So you
need a second act too.
We're getting a second bite at the apple, and there's a lot of discussion going back and assessing exactly what is yield or what are rewards as it relates to stablecoins. So
that cleared the House, but it still needs to pass the Senate, the Clarity Act.
Yes, which will be the final negotiation. So those of us engaged.
And you think it will pass the Senate?
I'm bullish it will. I would have told you I'd like to see it a couple months ago. I do think we'll get there by the end of July.
Really?
And I think we're starting to see this consensus come in the Senate. But
all right, there you go, guys. I think I have one other clip here. Let me see. Do I want to play this? Oh, you know what? This is something very helpful. I'm going to leave this in the description of the video. If you want to support the video, also you can hit like, you can leave a comment. Also, you can sign up with one of our partners in the description. There's also going to be this link here. Yesterday's bipartisan vote on the Clarity Act was a historic step forward, but digesting 309 pages of technical legislation, how is that going to work? To help everybody dig in, we develop an interactive map for Title I. So this is actually something that you can click on and go through each individual part if you want to. If you're that type of person where you need to read and understand every single piece, please do so. Also understand that things can change here and things can be added and taken away still before the full Senate floor vote. Let me know what you guys think about this. Obviously, I'm going to be reading your comments in the description. Some of you are just hilarious, and some of you have a really good eye on what's going to happen. Looking forward to it. Thank you so much for supporting all of my content. It is an absolute honor to always spend this time with you. Have a fantastic week ahead, and I'll continue to bring you the most crypto updates from any crypto YouTuber here in the entire world. Is that fair to say? Probably. 4 videos a day, 7 days a week. Yeah, we're probably at the top. All right, aloha.